People that walked in on their significant other having sex with another person. How did you react? Came home early from work, noticed a strange car outside, found them sleeping in our bed, cozy as can be after doing the deed. They woke up to me closing the door and leaving. She called and begged me to come home. I said everything I had ever bitten my tongue about, filed for divorce 2 days later. A month after divorce was final, I moved 1,000 miles away. She still wants me to come back and tells me it's the biggest mistake she ever made. People ask me why I even still talk to her. I say it's because I have to be civil. The truth is I'm still enjoying knowing she's struggling and that I won. Betty, I know, but fuck her. Hopefully I'm not too late. This was the moment of my life. For a couple of weeks I suspected my girlfriend was cheating on me with this particular guy, we'll name him John. The relationship was going south anyways, but I just wanted the pleasure to see her face when I catch her. My buddy and I devised a plan. I told my girlfriend I was going home to visit my parents. I was away in college, but in fact I was staying at my buddy's place a couple of miles down. Then the stakeout started. We knew where John lived and decided to follow him throughout the day. I was obsessed. We took my buddy's car 6 in the morning, parked right where he lived, and started following him everywhere. Day 1 was a bust. John left the house only twice that day, grabbing his lunch and dinner nearby. Dude never cooked. My buddy wanted to give up that day, but I knew we would catch him eventually. Sure enough, the next fucking day he left his house 3 times. Lunch, dinner, and finally something after dinner. My heart was pounding. I can't even imagine to tell you the adrenaline I felt when I saw this guy leaving his house. Followed him for a few miles and sure enough we see him pulling over to my girlfriend's apartment. Waited about half an hour and decided it was time to walk in. This is when we come in. Walking down the lobby with tank tops, shorts, Happy New Year glasses, confetti poppers, helium balloons, party horn, and a DSLR camera all at midnight in fucking March. We slowly creeped into the room. I had the keys, and sure enough you could hear faint moaning. We busted the door open, screamed surprise, confetti everywhere, and the camera started flashing. We left immediately after that. Anyways, you ever seen a picture of a spooked cat? Floating in midair and his fur all fuzzy? Well, the picture came out exactly like that. She was fucking him in reverse cowgirl, so we got a picture of her floating above his dick in a squat formation while he laid down. Anyways, I texted her the photo the next day and said I would delete it if I got all of my stuff back. I never received my belongings in such a neatly packed box. I was on a trip and decided to come home a couple days early and surprise my now ex-fiancé. We were not living together, so I was going to go to my apartment to shower because I took a red-eye flight and I wanted to wash off the airplane stink before I surprised her with some flowers. I walk in and I see a pair of shoes by the door that were not mine. I thought maybe they were my roommate's. As I round the corner to my room I start to hear moaning and heavy breathing. I thought my roommate was fucking in my room. So I thought I would fuck with him. I burst through the door and said something like surprise fucker and find my fiancé getting fucked by her roommate. I guess their other roommate had people over, so they thought to go to my place, which they thought was empty. I looked at them and I think you should leave the ring and the key. They freaked out and asked what I was doing home. I told them that this is my place and I didn't have to answer to them. They scrambled to collect their shit and leave. In the process she left behind her iPad. I decided to go through it. I'm really proud of that, but I figured, why not, the wedding is off now anyway. Turns out she had been sleeping with a bunch of different people for the past 6 or 7 months. When I was younger I had a girlfriend. My mistake is that I thought we were close. I had a key to her place and worked part-time. My manager sent me home one weekend because we were overstaffed and there wasn't any point in me being there. I went and picked up a DVD and some ingredients to make dinner and headed to her place. I let myself in and could already hear suspicious noises. My heart was pounding and my brain was saying all systems go. I went upstairs and opened the door and lo and behold there was some guy balls deep in my girl. There was so many emotions that all I could spurt out was I hope his dick tastes better than dinner, and proceeded to dump my shopping on her floor and stormed out. Q texts calls saying how she was confused / wasn't sure if she still liked guys / how sorry she was. Let's just say I haven't had a girlfriend since. We'd been dating for over a year. She'd gotten a new job, and to congratulate her I left work early and brought over 2 bottles of champagne. No one was answering the door, but her roommate was in the stairwell outside their friend's apartment and heard me knocking. She let me in. We both walked together to their room at the end of the hall, and as her roommate pushed the door open, my so called out not to come in, and I heard laughing. At this point, I moved on a kind of numb autopilot and pushed the door open. She was on top of him. She threw the blanket over her shoulders and looked back toward the door. I honestly lost my shit. I cried, screamed, went to absolute pieces. I knew the guy from other friends, and he'd abandoned a close friend of mine after their daughter was born severely epileptic. She wasn't apologetic at all. They were in love. I drove home, bawling the whole way. I haven't loved anyone like I loved her yet in my life. I drank both bottles of champagne at my apartment and packed a bag, calling my family to pick me up. I spent a few days with them. Being back home reminded me of the actual, unconditional love in my life. She and the guy deserved each other. In the end, she called me almost a year later while she was living with him and wanted to come over. She wanted to have sex, so we did. Then I detailed the whole affair in a message to him, and he kicked her out of his house. Everything works out in the end, people. Well, I came home from work about 2 hours early due to finishing up my paperwork quite early. Then I entered the bedroom ready to take shower. Then it happened. And to be completely honest, I just stood there and stared at them as they stared back at me. She then said, "Babe, it's not what it looks like." I then started laughing in an obnoxious way and turned around and left the room. Then when she came out of the room, I'm guessing he left the same way he came in the window, she found me playing Battlefield 4 on my PC. "Baby," she said. I just replied saying, "Huh?" She asked if I was okay. I just said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I guess she thought everything was actually okay and started to walk back into the bedroom. As she walked away, I continued to keep playing and just said, "Oh, and you have 3 days to get all of your things out." She tried to get me to take it back and started to get frustrated saying I can't do that. I simply replied, "I signed the lease, I personally pay all the bills, and everything that is even involved between you and I has my name on it, not yours. So you need to get out. I would appreciate that greatly." She then started to cry and I just laughed. Some may call me heartless for this, but if you knew the amount that I had put into the relationship and how much I sacrificed for it, you wouldn't blame me. My GF's roommate let me in, looking confused. She said, "I thought you were here already?" Then I heard sex noises coming from her room. I got really pissed off and stormed in, ready to beat the shit out of him, but when I kicked the door in, the guy jumped off of her, and I swear his fully erect cock couldn't have been bigger than a Sharpie. It stopped me dead in my tracks. So I started laughing, softly at first, then harder, until I was cackling like a damn hyena. I was doubled over, pointing at this guy's cock and laughing, and yelling at her, through hysterics, "Seriously? Seriously?" I grabbed my phone charger I had come back for, took one last look at them, then started laughing again as I left. My now ex-GF runs out in a towel, saying "let me explain" and all that shit. I have no idea how my brain connected this, but I look at her, continue laughing, and yell, "I've smoked cigarettes bigger than that," and open the door and walk out. Of course, as soon as I got back to my car, my reaction went from uncontrollable laughter to sobbing and screaming, but I got the satisfaction of not letting her see it. There are 2 great pieces to the story, though. First, her roommate called me a few days later saying she had a fight with my ex for cheating on me. 2 days later, while the ex was at work, I fucked her roommate in her bed. Second, many years later, word reaches me that my ex was marrying this guy and their wedding was forthcoming. I order a grow your own dick bachelorette novelty toy on Amazon and have it sent as a wedding gift from a made-up name to her mother's house. No word on if they got it. Thankfully it was only a girlfriend. Anyways, we lived together, and I got released early, military at the time, and came home. Caught her in the act, and honestly I think it was the dude's reaction that kept me calmer than anything. He started yelling at her, "Who the fuck is this guy, and you said you were single?" She had lied through her teeth to the guy, and to be honest, I've never been one to hang pictures or anything, or to live like a slob, so it is fairly believable he didn't know a guy lived there. Anyways, I just started packing my stuff, and she tried to yell at me, and cuss at me and stop me from packing. She tried to take stuff from me, and dumped my bags, and I just kept my head down and kept packing away. Honestly, I think I took it the best way I could. There was other stuff like quickly contacting the landlord, and informing him I was moving out, at will tenant in a month-to-month lease, and getting out of there the next day. But my reaction was the only sensible thing I could do at the time, I think. Well, I walked in on them sleeping in our bed. I came home early from a road trip with a friend of mine and walked into my bedroom, happy to wake her up and surprise her. For whatever reason the guy had a Polaroid in the bedside table, so I took a picture, set it next to them basically to say "be glad I didn't kill you," and walked out. She tried justifying it later, but I think I barely said 10 words to her after that.